League events have become shameless cash grabs. League of Legends is a game that's been widely renowned for its standout production value. It has a vast lore universe, one of the biggest sporting venues in the world, and their own series that ranks as one of the highest rated shows ever on Netflix. However, when it comes to these amazing events and venues, they often fall incredibly short when it comes to the game itself. Today, we'll be talking about how League's events continue to fail to meet expectations and how the player base is getting more and more frustrated as a result. So without further ado, let's get into it. When it comes to events and games, there are some pretty significant ones that come to mind. Since I'm sure everyone watching this video has played it before, take a game such as Fortnite for comparison when it comes to events. Fortnite is still one of the most popular games out there and has massive events at the end of most of their seasons that tie into the overall lore of the game. And even if some of these events may vary in the wow factor, they're still impressive nonetheless, and players are really excited to take part in these experiences. All I'm saying is that when Fortnite's dropping off a couple of cosmetics, the best they do is this, and when League's dropping a whole new skin line, well, the best they can do is this. Now, Riot has done in-game teasers in the past, most notably the Volibear one, which was actually really cool. Imagine if this was something they would do for different skin lines or even for the major event that takes place each year. For example, during one of the Versus events, we saw God King Garen versus God King Darius, and I just thought it would be a really cool idea if there was some sort of battlefield map where you have Noxus versus Demacia. You pick a side based on which side you chose, and you begin to duke it out with opponents. Obviously, this is no more than an idea, but it could be transferred into larger parts of the League lore, for example when two giant regions combat against each other, or even just one-on-one champion combat. Like, imagine being able to play in the Ionian invasion. That would be really cool. Now, of course, all this would be a way too much work to be doing for every new skin line or every new champion, but even if it were just once a year, it would be very refreshing to break the monotonous rotation we currently go through now. So now that I've set what I, along with many other members of the community, want events to be, let's talk about what events actually are. Event passes and the same rotating game modes. Now, to be fully transparent, I don't think that having passes for a couple of major events throughout the whole year would be a bad thing, but what Riot is currently doing with them is basically saying, "Hello, I like money." The fact that Riot will make the normal events throughout the year so pass focused is essentially just saying, if you want to experience this event, you're going to have to pay for it. Which, if you're a free-to-play player, getting just an orb's worth of excitement out of most events is pretty miserable. But as for these normal events, it's pretty hard to even call most of these events, because the thing is you're buying your way in, and then you have to play a bunch of games of League just so you could reap the pass's benefits. But are the gameplay aspects different when it comes to buying the pass for League? Well, no, it's the exact same game that you would play normally, but just this time you're playing for rewards that you paid for. And considering that basically every League event nowadays is based around buying skins, you're really just being promoted skins for the entire event. Now, sometimes there will be rotating game modes coming through for events, which sounds fun on paper, but it's the same 4 modes every time. Even if events had something pretty basic like a map reskin, which, by the way, players are more than willing to make on their own, it would make people have a lot more incentive to play in these events and really feel like they're a part of it, and they wouldn't have to pay their way in necessarily. And while Riot has talked about in the past that they might add back some old game modes just revamped, we still have not really heard anything about that in the last year. But you know, I've been a little negative for the past few minutes, so let's talk about the most recent event that everyone really seemed to like. And that event was Spirit Blossom in 2020. Now, this event was really cool at the time. It brought new innovations, brought new life to old game modes, and players still remember it pretty fondly. This was the first event to have the storytelling mechanic through interacting with characters, and while it did get a little fan appealy at times, overall it was still really cool. Leveling up Spirit Bonds was a new experience. We got 2 new champions, a revamped Nexus Blitz, and a 10-minute long anime saga with Yone and Yasuo. Not to mention, this event was run when Rioters couldn't even be at the office during this time. What a lot of people seem to really like about this event as well is that you didn't even have to spend money to get all these new experiences. They were all free, and while there was still an event pass, you didn't necessarily need it to get the full effect of the event. Unfortunately, major events in League have admittedly kind of gone downhill in the past few years. In 2021, we had the Ruination event, the pinnacle of one of League's greatest stories that everyone was super invested in, and it was so awfully bad. The only thing you can really credit this event for is that it introduced Ultimate Spellbook, which was a pretty fun game mode that a lot of people were excited to play when it was released. But other than that, it was a lore-destroying, character skin-pushing disaster that no one really seemed to like. And as for this past year's event, I literally could not find a single positive comment on its announcement. Not to mention, this event was the exact same as the year before, lore with the same game mode, and instead of the lore being destroyed in the storytelling, this time it was anime characters parasocially interacting. As someone who's incredibly invested into this game and its universe surrounding it, I just really wish that Riot treated players as people rather than cash-spewing money machines. But I suppose that if Riot keeps profiting from this method, they really don't have incentive to change. And don't worry, I'm sure the events are just like my rank and surely are going to get much better next year. If you'd like to support me as a creator, consider subscribing since it's free. You can always change your mind, but if you're just passing through, I totally get it and you don't gotta subscribe if you don't want to. But whether you chose to subscribe or not, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I will catch you all in the next one. Later!